We're only off 0.25% now. We had fallen as much as 3%, Keith. This isn't the same issue as bestruck Volkswagen, for example. How worried should we be?
Right. So Ford took great pains to say this does not involve defeat devices, the things that VW used in its diesel engines that caused the Dieselgate scandal. Instead, this is a problem with the specifications of how they test for emissions for the Clean Air Act and for fuel economy. So they've been investigating this since employees brought this up and brought this to their attention back in September. And just this week, they've reported it to the EPA and to the California Air Resources Board. But the EPA is saying there's not enough information here to take any action yet. More investigation needs to be conducted.
Keith, why do we keep hearing about incidents or alleged incidents where automakers are accused of gaming the emissions system in some way to make it look like they're getting better mileage or better emissions than what their cars really get? I mean, what's going on here?
Well, they dance along the knife's edge to try and meet these regulations, but also to give their cars, you know, sort of the power and attributes that consumers seem to crave. So what you've seen in some cases, not in this Ford example that we know of yet, but in VW and other cases, is that they actually break the rules and they cheat. In this case, it looks like some employees found a problem with how they were conducting their testing, and they've been investigating it now since September. They hired an outside firm to do the investigation, but the EPA feels much more needs to be done.
Keith, is this basically a masterclass in how an auto company should deal with just this type of issue? I mean, we saw Volkswagen come out with an impartial or a sort of partial response that was condemned by investors, but we're seeing Ford shares down just a touch, not responding too much. Does that mean that Ford did this right?
Well, it's hard to know just yet. It's so complicated how this all works, how they certify cars to establish the fuel economy, the gas mileage you see on the sticker on the window, and how they establish whether or not the cars are emitting the right amount of pollution to meet clear air standards. So I think at this early stage, it's hard to know how Ford has conducted itself. I think there is going to be independent investigations, probably done by the feds as well as the California Air Resources Board.